Good afternoon, James Preston with you. Great to have your company on 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. Live from our studios in Sydney, this is the Stocks in Action show. And first up, let's take a look at the ASX 200 and the ASX listed stocks that are trending today. The S&P ASX 200 is lower today, dropping 110.4 points or 1.5% to 7,258.5. The bottom performing stocks in this index are Codan, down 11.02%, and GUD Holdings, down 5.38%. The index has lost 0.74% for the last 5 days, but it still sits 1.99% below its 52-week high, which means that the gains and losses have mostly been stable. All 11 sectors are lower today, along with the S&P ASX 200 index. The session's top sector, healthcare, is lower by 0.08%, but up 3.85% for the last 5 days in total. On Friday, the Australian benchmark index closed the session slightly higher by 0.13% or 9.9 points. And on that note, let's take a quick glance through some significant developments globally. On Friday, all three main indices on Wall Street closed in red, with market participants wary of a more hawkish stance from the US Fed, while the US dollar climbed higher, posting its biggest gain in over a year. The Dow Jones fell by a decent 1.58% to 33,290 on Friday, marking the worst week for the blue chip index since January 2021. The S&P 500 lost 1.31% to 4,166.6, while the Nasdaq Composite shed 0.92% to 14,030.38. The US Fed stance propelled the US dollar as the dollar index surged to 0.43% on Friday to 92.314, its highest level since mid-April 2020. The index registered its strongest weekly gain in almost 14 months, as investors are fleeing away from equities and seeking some safety in the form of the US dollar compared to other currencies. On Friday, the Australian and New Zealand dollars traded close to their 2021 lows as the risk of preemptive rate hikes from the US Fed threatened the global reflation trade, helping the US counterpart. Moving on to crypto, and Bitcoin is trading flat in the cryptocurrency market with a minor gain of 0.5% to US $35,678 as of 9:20 p.m. GMT. Its counterparts Dogecoin and Ether are also trading flat, having recovered from lower levels. And the grim session on Wall Street didn't spare any sector, including Nasdaq 100, which ended 1.14% lower, closing the session near the day's low. On Friday, gold struggled to recover as well and ended the session in red for the 6th straight session. The yellow metal closed the week with a sizable loss of 5.7%, making it its worst week in over a year. Spot gold fell by 0.1% to US $1,770.96, an ounce by 1.5 p.m. EDT, halting an initial uptick during the session. Gold prices were down 5.7% for the week, having slid more than 2% on Thursday. On Friday, the most actively traded iron ore futures contract for the September month delivery closed the session with an uptick of 1.99% to 1,229 yuan. Copper on Friday closed the week with its biggest fall since March 2020 after China said it would sell state reserves to limit the price. The US Fed's signal to tighten its monetary policy also helped copper tumble to lower levels. The shift in tone for the US central bank also propelled the US dollar towards its largest weekly gain since April 2020, making metals more expensive to hold in other currencies. And now, before we take some more trending updates, it's time for a very short break right here on 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
sectoral coverage or industry news,
we cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
with 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV.
Well, hello and welcome, and conversely, thanks for sticking with us. You're watching 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV live from Sydney, and this is the Stocks in Action show. Let's now take a look at the crude oil space. On Friday, crude oil shook off earlier losses and rebounded from lower levels following reports that OPEC expected limited US oil output growth this year. The West Texas Intermediate crude was up by 0.8% to US $71.64 per barrel. Both benchmarks closed the week for about 1.1% in gains. However, crude oil traded nearly flat on Monday during the initial sessions of trade after recording significant gains last week. August delivery of Brent crude oil futures traded 55%, or should I say 0.55% up at US $73.61 per barrel, and WTI crude oil futures for August delivery traded at US $71.45 a barrel, up 0.22% as of the 21st of June 2021, Australian Eastern Standard Time of 10:12 this morning. Crude oil prices gained momentum on the back of investors' optimism on improved demand outlook amid global economic recovery, driven by an intensified vaccination program. OPEC and its allies recently agreed to stick with their plan of gradually easing the supply curbs through July. However, rising coronavirus cases in Britain with a new variant of COVID-19 and a stronger dollar has weighed the crude oil prices down. Well, on that note, let's now have a look at some major news from the ASX listed companies. But before we get into that, we'll have a very quick look at some other news that is making the rounds in the world of finance. One of the four premier banks of the country, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, today announced it has entered into an agreement to sell its Australian general insurance business, 𝐶𝐿 General Insurance, to the Hollard Group. The bank's announcement read that this will be an exclusive 15-year strategic alliance with Hollard for the distribution of home and motor vehicle insurance products to CBA's retail customers across Australia. As per the official statement, the transaction consideration includes $625 Australian million of upfront consideration together with deferred payments. Also, Hollard will be making additional investment throughout the 15-year strategic alliance to drive innovation and enhance the customer experience. CBA will also continue to earn income on the distribution of home and motor insurance products. Meanwhile, a pre-completion dividend is also expected to receive into the hands of CBA. Now, moving along to the next piece of news, and we're taking a firm look at the Bank of Queensland. Today, they've announced that the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Australia has provided the Bank of Queensland to hold a controlling stake of 100% in Members Equity Bank Limited. On the 22nd of February 2021, the Bank of Queensland announced it had entered into an agreement to acquire 100% of the issued share capital in ME Bank for cash considerations of Australian $1.325 billion payable at completion. The acquisition was subject to regulatory approval from the Treasurer, and this approval was the only condition precedent to completion of the transaction. Completion is expected to take place on the 1st of July 2021. Meanwhile, this ASX listed stock is in the news today. Immutep has secured commitments for a $60 million Australian dollar via a two-tranche institutional placement, which was supported by multiple institutional investors in Australia and also offshore. Immutep will also offer an SPP for eligible shareholders of Immutep to seek to raise a further $5 million. As per the release, the ongoing strength of Immutep's clinical data for EFTI provides the opportunity to seek to expand the clinical portfolio, including a phase 3 clinical trial. The firm is gearing up for Immutep's autoimmune disease candidate, IMP761, for IND stage. Meanwhile, the institutional placement will be improving Immutep's financial flexibility, providing $108 million of cash balance and extending its cash runway to the end of the financial year of 2023. And now, before we take some more trending updates here on 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐼 TV, we'll have a very short break.
At 𝐊𝐴𝐼 TV, we'll take you to the heart of the Australian equity market. We'll bring you breakthrough stories that highlight volatility, as well as tailwinds building across the length and breadth of markets. Whether space travel will gain momentum, while economies may gradually open amid vaccine rollouts, our experts will share their timely inputs. So join us on this exciting journey of live streaming, financial and stock market news. 𝐊𝐴𝐼 TV.
Thanks for sticking with us on 𝐊𝐞𝐥𝐤 TV. James with you live from our studios in Sydney, and this is the Stocks in Action show. Let's move on to the next piece of news coming courtesy of smart home solutions company HSC Technology Group Limited. On Monday, they shared that their platinum partner Johnson Controls ADT Security Pacific has ordered 3,350 units to be delivered over the next 12 months. As per the announcement, the revenue generated from these orders is likely to total around Australian $1.1 million. These orders follow ADT's initial purchase of the HSC Essence Care at Home order of 1,400 units. Meanwhile, this ASX-listed stock is in the news today. Boral Limited stated that it will sell its North American building products business to a unit of NYSE-listed Westlake Chemical Corp for US $2.15 billion. Following the sale of the North American business, Boral said its net debt target would fall to Australian at $1.3 billion from Australian $1.5 billion. The announcement came in a disclosure in response to a bid by Seven Group Holdings in May to buy all the shares in Boral it did not already own, which valued Boral at Australian $7.91 billion. Boral is expecting to complete the transaction in the first half of fiscal year 2022. Moving on to natural gas and helium producer Renergen Limited, it's announced the discovery of helium at its Evander exploration rights prospect, with a concentration of 1.1% helium identified in the gas. As per the release, Evander spans approximately 52,000 hectares, with many abandoned holes drilled for coal and also gold exploration. It's worth highlighting that Evander is located around 120 kilometres from South Africa's main industrial hub in Johannesburg and is close to the main gas pipeline. According to RLT, the well at Evander was drilled many years ago and had no surface infrastructure. As such, the well became waterlogged and is hidden in the middle of planted land. Despite this, the gas is still able to overcome the water pressure and is producing 5,000 standard cubic feet per day, which is quite an incredible rate considering the infrastructure concerns. Meanwhile, this ASX-listed stock is also in the news today. Drug developer Star Pharma Holdings Limited stated that it's received correspondence from the UK Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency regarding specific promotional claims made for the company's 𝐕𝐝𝐿𝐲 antiviral nasal spray. The company stated that the correspondence relates to the interrelationship between its product claims and references to SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 and its categorisation as well. SPL on Friday confirmed SPL 7013, the active in company's antiviral nasal spray, 𝐕𝐝𝐿𝐲, has potent virucidal activity against the alpha, beta and gamma variant strains of the COVID-19 virus. All right, well, that is all for the Stocks in Action show. Hope you enjoyed the program. Make sure to stay tuned with 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐤 TV for more live market updates. We'll be back with more news on markets, the economy and diverse themes and sectors very shortly. Rachel Jones will take you through the latest on 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐤 TV.